Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, jam, two-hand monster flush, off the inbound. Ryan, gam, slam, jam.
Subscribe to us on Podbean, the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at TheFinalScore35 and TikTok at AGSpartanFan35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into episode 162 of the TFS Pod. This will be our second to last one of February, then it's March. Cannot wait for that. College basketball is running rampant. We love it. NHL, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Michigan State hockey trying to win a Big Ten championship this weekend in Madison. Or I'm sorry, it's at home.
No, this weekend against Ohio State, next weekend in Madison.
Okay.
But Ohio State swept Wisconsin.
I think we can
last
clinch,
week,
though, if we win this series, which is awesome. Good for Michigan State. They have a shot at another Frozen Four. NFL, free agency coming up. We can talk about that in a few episodes. NBA sucks. Golf, we're getting into the West Coast swing being over Mexico, and then we're going to Florida. I'm excited for that. I always love those tournaments. But yeah, here we go. Podium. NCAA EA Sports College Football coming back in July or August of this year. They dropped a trailer last week. It's been teased for a long time. I've been waiting since 2013 for this to happen. This is my favorite game of all time. I just love it. I still play it on my PS3 of all consoles, and I just love it. And I'm so excited that it's coming back for people my age, for people a little older than me. It's going to be amazing. Wow. I cannot wait. The trailer gave me goosebumps, and that tells me I don't even like video games much anymore, but we need this as we speak. Did they foul them on the three?
They must have.
Illinois just
blew a 10 or 12-point lead with like 2.5 minutes to go.
Penn State in a three.
Penn State had a
3
rim out like 3 times to go ahead by 1. He's shooting 3 free throws during the first.
Goodness.
Giving you a little bit of live commentary here. 89-88 with 4.2 seconds to go. Illinois has no timeouts left. Penn State has 1 timeout left. So you get a little bonus action live from the pod. And he tied the game. Penn State has missed a ton of free throws tonight, too.
They should bring, while we're at it, they should bring back NCAA basketball. That was my favorite game of all time. They've made that since 2009. So it's been a while there.
The gates will probably be open with the other one.
Hopefully.
And he made
3 in a row.
3 clutch.
I feel like Illinois is going to make a shot.
There you go. Illinois has got...
They doubled Shannon.
He's going to get a shot. Oh, man, he got all the way to the rim.
Oh, he missed it. Oh, my goodness.
We have a court storm.
Oh, it's like Michigan State, Iowa all over again.
For anybody who did not watch this Penn State-Illinois game, is it Wednesday night? I don't know. I just got back to Dallas. Wednesday night, Penn State played in Rec Hall, which has clearly been refurbished since the old days. But when they joined the Big Ten, that's where they played. It seats maybe 7,000. Literally, the fans around the edge are on top of you. I mean, there's like a 1.5 foot radius of sideline, and the fans are right there, and it is a major court storm. And this is exactly why Penn State blow up the Bryce Jordan and play in this place.
Because make it's a place small like
it's
that.
It's a true home court advantage. And the Big Ten madness continues. So, all right, my podium, I didn't watch it because, if you listen to the pod, I absolutely hate the NBA. It was one team scored 200 points.
Yes.
Like, what a joke. And I get it. Back in my day, even when the All-Star game was something to watch, it would be like 140 to 130 or whatever. But football long ago dropped the Pro Bowl. And we have this nonsense with flag football and stuff. Hockey, I think, still plays a game, but they play some weird variety of like 3 periods and kind of a weird format. The skill stuff is cool. And the NBA is an absolute joke. Guys don't care. Guys don't do the dunk contest. Guys don't do this. Guys don't do that. Like the only true All-Star game that is still somewhat left is MLB.
And that's still not.
And it's still not as good as it used to be. Like when I was a kid, I remember you looked forward to that. And there was a fan component to it like there still is, but it wasn't as fan. So you couldn't just completely stuff the ballot box and have crappy players from your favorite team play. And, looking at it now, MLB, I think, can still kind of right the ship a little bit. But really, just give those guys the day off. And here you go. Just have a home run derby contest and figure out some other pitching skills thing, maybe. And even then, why blow out your arm, right? Like, so have a home run derby, call it good. Football, you don't need any of that BS. That was the week before the Super Bowl. That was an epic. That was like, you may as well be playing Rockford Community Ed flag football. A joke. None of that stuff matters. I don't care about any of the skills. None of the players care. Get rid of it. NBA, if you bring back the old dunk contest where guys actually wanted to do it, like when Blake Griffin jumped over a car and, Vince was doing his dunks and, back in the days of MJ and Dominique. But now you got like Mac McClung, who he's a great dunker. He won it again. I didn't see any of the dunks, but is like barely hanging on by a thread in the G League. Nobody cares. Like the 3-point contest, okay, fine. But the biggest thing there was the quote unquote battle of the sexes. Steph against the whatever her name was from the WNBA. Yeah. Like, it's a joke. People don't want to play. The game is a joke. Nobody takes it seriously. In the 80s, when I was growing up, it was battles. It was for pride. Like, Magic and Bird still went at it because they didn't like each other. I mean, they respected each other, but they didn't like each other. MJ wanted to do his thing. Like, guys wanted to do their thing. And it's just like, it's a total waste of time. It's all for show. Nobody cares. The NBA is terrible basketball product anyway. Like, just go away. Get rid of, I make an executive decision right now, get rid of all-star games, minus maybe major leagues if you can kind of salvage it. Get rid of them. Period.
Yep, I agree. It's a joke. All right, tee up of the week. This was an easy one. If you Michigan State fans, Michigan fans, if you listen, if you watch them, Michigan fans probably wouldn't agree.
Michigan fans don't care because their basketball team is literally the worst basketball team they've had in 2 decades since Brian Ellerby. But
that's bad. Gus Johnson.
Let's just set it up. Started promoting this in the first half. We're going to be talking to Michigan's old new head ball coach Sharon Moore in the second half. First of all, why not do it at halftime? Because this is what happened. I think it was after the first TV timeout. They brought in old ball coach, as Gus likes to call him, and he's
36 years
like
old,
slobbering all over him. And
he's legs folded.
This is all you need to know. During about 5 minutes of actual live game action, I actually put it on mute, so I can't even say if Jimmy Jackson was trying to call it. I felt bad for him. Gus Johnson was not even squared up to the court. He was squared up to Sharon Moore, who was at least looking at the court. And interviewing him as if there was no basketball game going on and nothing else. And I get it. Michigan sucks this year. And Michigan State's not that great either, but it's still a rivalry game. It still is an important game. It's still a big game in the grand scheme of things.
It's on national television.
And it's on national television, and you spend 5 minutes interviewing the new Michigan football coach, who, by the way, is probably going to be hamstrung because they still cheated. Just because Jim went away doesn't mean they didn't cheat. Might not have been Sharon, but they cheated. Gus Johnson used to be must hear, must watch, must see TV. I mean, probably the last time that I liked what he did was his excitement calling the Michigan State-Michigan football game in 2021. Beyond that, I'm sorry, he's worthless. He's gone the way of, and Dick Vitale at least does a million things for people in cancer and is a giving person. But you know how his shtick wore thin on you about 20 years ago? That's where Gus is now. It's like, he can't stand the test of time like a Raft or some of these other guys who are around and around and around because they just call the game like it is. They have their things, like referee has onions and little lingerie on the deck. Those are his rafteryisms, if you will. But Gus is just so hyperbole, slobbers over Michigan more than ever. I mean, like, he's talking trash to Jim Jackson. But like, Gus, you didn't go to Michigan. I think you went to Syracuse.
Probably.
I don't care if you're from Detroit, then go to Michigan. Like, stop already. It is not endearing to Michigan State fans. It's not endearing to people who hate Michigan, which, newsflash, is everybody that didn't go to or shop at Walmart for their Michigan gear. Like, people don't care. It's too bad. Like, can we just do a straight swap? Give me McDonough and you can have Gus ESPN, so we never have to hear him again.
Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous, and he's he's talking about the big house and all that. It's like, dude, this is just ridiculous.
Who's got it better? After Michigan State wins that game on a 10-0 run, who's got it better than us? That's a Jim Harbaugh thing. Like, put your wiener back in your pants, Gus. Stop, trying to get it out in front of the Michigan people. We don't care. Maybe a few Michigan fans, but I think even they probably don't care. And honestly, they probably weren't watching the game because that's how bad Michigan is. So, just ridiculous. Stupid.
Really bad.
All right, we're going to 4 quarters this week because we don't have NFL. And we'll probably shift back and forth to 5 spots and whatever as we go, but we'll go 4 quarters this week. So first quarter and Big Ten Power Rankings are presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports sponsorships and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com.
All right.
You want to start with this, Ryan, or you want me to give you, I'll just give you my power rankings, and then we can go from there.
Yeah,
how do you want to do it?
That's fine.
All right. Michigan, 14th, worst team. Wouldn't surprise me to see an upset in the Big Ten tournament, maybe.
Obviously, no, that's not going to happen. They're Kamwa out for the season, wrist surgery today. Okay. Gone.
Yeah, not going to happen at all. So this happened before this. I had Penn State moved down to 13. They've been kind of in that hovering because Clary is gone, who's one of their best players, and then they go and storm back a couple times and beat Illinois tonight, who's clearly the second best team. So, I had flipped them the week before. Ohio State had a huge upset. They beat Purdue with Diebler. Does that put him in the mix? I have them at 12. I have Rutgers at 11. Rutgers finally came to earth a little bit the other day against Minnesota, but they've been playing well. Indiana 10, although they're losing at home tonight to Nebraska early. Maryland 9, Iowa 8. Although I could probably I don't know that Iowa really has a chance at the NCAA tournament, but I could maybe move them in that mid-pack or flip them with Minnesota at 7. And I'm going to say this. I had Michigan State all the way at 3 yesterday before, when I was doing my notes before they played Iowa. I dropped them to 6, and I have them back on the bubble. And we'll talk more about Michigan State and State of the State. I've got Nebraska 5. They can climb maybe even ahead of Wisconsin if they can win at Indiana tonight. Wisconsin 4, Northwestern 3, Illinois 2, Purdue 1. This is one of the worst Big Tens I can remember. Awful. I think my buddy Daub said something like, this may be the first time in history with 14 teams anyway that all but one team, maybe Illinois is the only other team that might not pick up an overall double-digit loss. Like most of the teams except for Purdue are going to have double-digit losses. Not in conference, obviously, but overall. It is a weak league. And I'll save the Michigan State part for the State of State, but
it's rough. No one's impressed. Purdue, I still don't think that they're going to make a run because of the way they play. Mm-hmm. I don't. It's not good. It's an average league. 6 teams at most are going to get in. I mean, it's the same as the Mountain West for crying out loud.
Mountain West has 3 teams in the close in the Ken Palm thing this week.
Crazy. You want to give your Ken Palm?
Well, I mean, we just kind of blew through the Big Ten, but it wouldn't surprise me if an Ohio State or a Rutgers.
Someone's going to make noise.
Somebody's going to make some noise.
Penn State did it last year as a 10 seed.
Nebraska is going to, potentially be a 4 seed, so they may get a double bye, but they're definitely built that way. They're
last year's.
They need to prove a little bit more away from home. They're phenomenal at home. I think they're 16-1 now at home. So a win tonight at Indiana, for example, would be huge for them. But this is just and look, across college basketball is down, right? If you look in the top 10, the amount of teams that have 6, 7, 8 losses is pretty crazy. And we're going to get to a question from Mitchapalooza a little bit later that I thought was an excellent question for mailbag, but, this is a bad Big Ten. And again, as my buddy Dauber pointed out, who is the number 1 draft pick? Who's the first round draft pick in the NBA this year? Maybe
in the
Shannon?
Big Ten, Shannon.
Maybe. Who else? Nobody, right? There's no stand. I mean, Edey, maybe. Well,
no.
Edey. I mean, because he's 7'4", but
there's not a guy I mean, maybe Khalil Ware off potential alone from Indiana because he's 7 foot and can shoot it and rebound. But
in the NBA, we know
maybe AJ Storr eventually for Wisconsin.
Right. But going out guys that are ready to go
Tim
to the NBA
Christie,
now,
I don't know.
No,
I don't see it.
even if some of those guys are, because the NBA is so stupid the way they draft, it's not in your old school like reality world of guys that are actually ready to go, NBA ready to go. Maybe Shannon. That's it. That's the only guy that I would waste a first round draft pick.
Yeah,
on.
he's good
because he's the real deal. So, weekly KenPom. I looked at this yesterday. Obviously, the KenPom is very fluid and it changes. But here's the weekly update. Again, teams in the top 40 on offense, top 22 on defense have won the Natty every year since KenPom, which is 2002. So this was actually as of yesterday, but none of these teams I don't think dropped out. Purdue, 2 on offense, 21st, and a big drop on defense. UConn, they might have changed actually since yesterday because they got waxed last night by Creighton. Lost their losing or their winning streak. They had tied themselves in like a
UConn's dropped 23rd defensively.
Oh,
they
really?
No longer lie in the window.
Wow. They dropped out. They went from 11th on Tuesday to 23rd after they got railed by Creighton. And I had said actually in my notes from yesterday, a big rise, actually big fall. Their offense is great. They obviously had a bad game against Creighton, but what I was getting at is they had tied themselves in the 83-84 St. John's is the longest Big East winning streak at 14 games. Had a chance to set that record last night, and obviously that didn't happen at Creighton. So we see UConn falls just on the outside. I still think they'll probably end up in it. So, and honestly, if let's just say the season ended today and they were 3rd and 23rd, I probably would be putting 2 or 3 of my pools on UConn to win. I think they're the best team.
Yeah, they're really good.
Arizona, at least as of again yesterday, some of these things are fluid, but 6-12, 6 on offense, 12 on defense. Houston has consistently been pretty much top on defense. They're 15 on offense. Love or hate Kelvin Sampson, they're a nice team. Once they kind of got their feet wet.
They play like Michigan State used to play.
Yeah, once they got their feet wet in the Big 12, they've taken off. Tennessee, 16 on offense, 5 on defense. That's a solid team. North Carolina, it's been solidly in there, 17-0, 14D. Auburn's still in there, 22 on offense, 4 on defense. So if you got a couple cheaters in that KenPom Natty territory between Sampson and Bruce Pearl. Marquette 23-18, so they're in there. Michigan State, actually, the 18 is not going to be true because Michigan State, we did adjust today. They fell to 32 on offense and 18 on defense. Didn't fall much on defense from where they were. And Iowa State actually snuck in there, 38 on offense, 3rd on defense. So that's a new mover that moved in. Obviously, UConn moved out. And kind of the guys on the periphery, Duke is 10 and 25, so they're close on defense. Creighton, this was, again, before last night. They may be in it now, 18 and 24, so they're pretty close. New Mexico, Colorado State, San Diego State are all kind of in the mix. They're like hovering around that edge close enough. New Mexico and Colorado State are like in the 30 range on defense, but they're in the top 40 on offense. Mm-hmm. Ooh, don't look now, Wake Forest actually is 35th on offense, 29th on defense, so they're not that far out. Kansas is falling way off on offense, 46th, but they're 9th on defense, so they could easily move back into there. And San Diego State is actually close. They're 51st on offense, but they're 9th on defense. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, as we get closer, we're not that far away from March Madness now. It's going to get crazier yet. Winning on the road is a near impossibility, and we especially seen it in the Big Ten, but we're seeing it like UConn last night getting absolutely blasted at Creighton. So
yeah, it's crazy. You want to run through where we think Big Ten teams lie on the seed line?
Oh yeah, sure. In Final Four, or I mean, in number 1 seeds. Or in Big Ten in general. My 1 seeds this week, they're UConn, Purdue, Arizona, Houston. I think it's the same as the committee had. Yeah, I would go with that too. I mean, I think Tennessee maybe has an outside shot. I think UNC maybe has an outside shot.
Kansas maybe.
Maybe Kansas would have an outside shot if they ran the table the rest of the way. But yeah, I think that's going to be pretty lock solid. I honestly, right now, I mean, it's hard to say Michigan State is not going to be in because if you look at the landscape of college basketball and Michigan's net and their strength of schedule and all the things that they have going for them, they're a shoe-in. But
they win games.
You got to win games. In the next 4 games, there's no gimmies. Ohio State all of a sudden snapped back to life with a win over Purdue, so they're full of confidence. You got to go to Purdue. You got to play Northwestern, who's had your number, 3 times in a row, I think, or something like that. including the last 2 times they played you in East Lansing, I believe. And then you got Indiana at Indiana, which is never an easy place to play, even though they're middling at best. I think Purdue's the number 1 seed. Illinois, even despite their loss
I think they're
tonight,
5.
Illinois is still a nice team, but I think, they're probably in that
Their
5
defense
range.
isn't very good. Wisconsin, I have them as a 5-6.
I got Wisconsin more like a 7. I mean, they hit the skids, and
They should have lost.
I don't know. I'm not that impressed with Wisconsin anymore. They've really, really fallen off. And here's the thing. Their offense has vastly improved. Their defense is not Wisconsin's defense.
Not Wisconsin.
And defense travels, guys. Like, there's a reason top 22 on defense, top 40 on offense. Like, you got to be a lockdown type of team. I think Nebraska is probably like a 10.
Yeah.
At this point, I think Michigan State's a play-in. I think they're like a, whatever those are, 12s, 13s,
I think Michigan State, if they get to 19 wins, they're going to be an 8 or a 9. If they get to 20 plus, I think they're 7. That's just how it's going to work. They did last year. They were in the same record. I looked at this last year. Michigan State was 16-10, and 17-11 at one point. So very, very similar to last year at this time, almost to the date actually. I think we lost to Iowa to make us 16-11 last year.
Oh,
so.
shocker, happening again. So
yeah.
All right, so that is hoops. So second quarter. AKA spot 2 is hodgepodge mailbag. We got a lot of them. We got some good ones that I threw in there. We got some good ones from Chris, and Mitchapalooza is back to the pod with questions. So let's fire at them. This is one I saw. College football is considering adding a 2-minute warning. Yay or nay on that?
No, because I don't want more timeouts.
Right, it's gonna kill.
The game already takes.
It already takes 4 hours. Like, I don't know why the NFL can be 3:15, almost on the nose, 3:20 max. And college football is a 4-hour game. 2-minute warning is going to make it worse unless you take away the third timeout. If you want to do that, okay, fine. But I don't know. Like, why do you need that? I mean, you're just trying to be like the NFL. Why don't you just start showing Taylor Swift every 5 seconds during a game too? Like, I think that's a wasteful rule. This is a great one from Chris. Would you be a better putter if every time inside of 5 feet you got punched in the balls if you missed?
No.
Or would you be more shaky and clinchy over the putt? I think
probably be more shaky, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, funny story. So my dad, when he was teaching me how to play golf, he used to use this kind of picture when you were playing, like the keep your head down adage, right? He's like, think of a fish line tied around your ear with a hook on your sack. And that if you lift your head, you're going to rip yourself. Like, that was kind of how we trained the discipline to keep your head down. I mean, obviously you need to keep your head goes up with your contact and whatever, but like to not peak at contact. I got to think that it's like anything, right? Chris, I mean, you'd get conditioned after a while to not miss that putt. And it would be a different ballgame if we actually putted things inside of 3 feet very often, because it doesn't happen very often. But great question. I think, yes, I would get better. Ryan thinks he'd get worse. Here's one that I threw out there. We'll talk about golf a little bit in a bit too. And great victory with a great Sunday round. But should Hideki learn English already?
Yes, he's been playing the PGA Tour for how long?
He's won majors, and come on, dude. It's like pick up Babbel. It's not that hard. Like, you just need to be able to speak enough English to be, discernible. Like, I think that's almost kind of disrespectful in a way to the PGA Tour, to be honest. This was a Chris question before the Iowa game. Odds Michigan State finishes out with just one more conference loss. Obviously, that already happened last night. So with 4 games left on the schedule, we'll answer that. What are the odds that Michigan State goes 3-1 or better against Ohio State at home, Purdue on the road, Northwestern at home, Indiana
3-1 in the last 4? I think it's doable if you get the Michigan State that played against Penn State, you get the Michigan State that played against.
That's a big if.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a Jekyll-Hyde team. I'm going to say yes. I think Michigan State does it. I don't know why. I just feel like they're going to do it. And then they're going to lose the first game in the Big Ten tournament, be a 7 or 8 seed, win a game, and play against a UConn or a North Carolina in the second round, and play play them tight like they did Duke a couple years ago and end up losing by, anywhere from 7 to 10 points. I mean, it's just how it's going to work. That's where Michigan State's at.
Michigan State goes 2-2 down the stretch at best, maybe 1-3.
Wow, you didn't even watch.
I don't think, and I didn't even watch the game last night. I don't think there's a chance in hell because let's face it, they played like garbage against Michigan. They got lucky playing against arguably the worst Michigan team in at least 20 years, talent-wise, coaching-wise, and everything else. And it took a late run from Michigan State and only a 10-0 run over like 5.5 minutes. And part of that's because Michigan is so inept on offense down the stretch. Like, I don't see them going better than 2-2. And maybe 0-1 depends on the matchup, maybe 1-1. I just don't think this team cares. We'll get to that a little bit more in the next spot. But all right, now let's go to the Mitchapalooza portion of the mailbag. Based on recent recruiting success, I think you said, Ryan, you got like a top 50 guy. Drew Valentine at Loyola Chicago has to be the front runner for Izzo's replacement, right?
Yep.
I agree. 100%. I do not think it's Mark Montgomery. I do not think that it's DJ.
I hope not.
I fear that Izzo's going to want to go there. And look, those are great Michigan State guys. I have nothing against them as Spartans. They're phenomenal Spartans. They are not built to be that guy. Drew Valentine is a good young up-and-coming coach. He's cut his teeth at a program that had great success under Porter Moser. Kind of stepped back a little bit last year when all of Moser's guys kind of went out.
And they went up
and now he's got his own, and they went up a conference. Now he's got his own guys, and he's having a really successful year this year. I think he's got to be the front runner. He's young. He's a guy that can stick around for a while.
He's been with the program.
Yeah.
His family.
He's got the family legacy. Carlton. Denzel, I hope, and honestly, I got to tell you, I kind of hope now. I kind of hope next year. I'm not going to pull any punches on that, but we'll get to that. All right. Mitch, second question. Has college basketball gotten too unpredictable? He says, I almost appreciated it more when there were blue bloods at the top, loaded with talent, and the underdogs were truly underdogs, not just portal stacked teams. I'm talking about you, FAU. So what do you think? Has it gotten too unpredictable?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like,
does it kind of take away? I mean, the upsets of March Madness minus the 16s, like Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue or the Golden Retrievers over Virginia. Those are like, or the 15-2s and maybe the 14-3s, but the rest aren't. Are they really upsets anymore? When the Dukes and the Kentuckys and the Michigan States and the North Carolinas and the Kansases are good but not great. When 8 to 10 to 12 teams are probably going to be in that KenPom, category that's needed to win. Most years it's 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean it's
become unpredictable because of
the portal.
Not as much NIL in college basketball, but because of the portal, and the portal does not make college sports better. Period. So I kind of agree with you, Mitch, from the perspective of it made March a little more interesting in that way. Like, upsets were truly upsets. Now, is it really an upset when an FAU team,
right? They had a bunch of old
loaded with former high-level guys,
like all these guys that played high level.
Like, yeah, it was a cool story and it was an amazing story, but like talent-wise, they were pretty toe-to-toe with those teams. I mean, maybe not quite as good as a Duke or not quite as good as a Kentucky or Purdue or whatever, but pretty close. Versus usually you think of like when Michigan State was a 2 and they lost to 15 Middle Tennessee State. That was a good Middle Tennessee State team. That Middle Tennessee State team wouldn't go to the Final Four. No way. Like, I think it has watered down college basketball. And this, when they bubble back up to the top that they want to make the tournament 96 teams, you want to talk about ruining something great, change March Madness as it is beyond NIL and beyond the portal. If you expand the tournament, it's going to be even worse. Yeah. And it's just not.
It's becoming unwatchable already.
Yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm here for fun upsets and good basketball and true underdog stories. So I'm kind of with you. All right, next question. Golf related from Mitch. If you could caddy for one current pro at an event of your choosing, who would it be and where?
You know, it would be hilarious to caddy for Jordan Spieth at Augusta. I just would want to fight with him over him doing something.
I thought about Spieth just because he just would be so entertaining to talk to. But I don't know. You got to be on your game. Like, his caddy he's good.
Griller, yeah.
Yeah, he's good. I think I'd want to do JT because I think JT would mess around a little bit, joke with you a little bit. He's not super serious, but yet he's pretty fiery and competitive. I think JT would be fun. I don't know. Scotty strikes me as he might be just kind of a little too pedestrian. I really like Scotty Scheffler, but I don't know that he would be as much fun. I think Ricky would be fun though too.
Yeah, he probably would.
Ricky Fowler would be fun. Ricky, I would more rather play with than a foursome, so I'll go JT. And you say Spieth.
Yeah.
And you said, and I'll say JT at, probably not necessarily a major, but we'll say TPC Sawgrass. Is the fifth major, if you will. So that answers the question all the way. All right. Mitch's last question. The Lions are linked to multiple high-profile defensive free agents. Do we go that route or build through the draft? I wouldn't mind paying for an all-pro like Hunter or Gilmore.
I think they're going to do a mix. I think they're going to either get a high-level edge free agent or corner free agent, then draft whatever they didn't in the first round, go after. The line I've heard L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs name come up, Kendall Fuller from the Commanders, Josh Allen from defensive end, from Jacksonville, Brian Burns from Carolina. Like those guys, put those guys on that defense and you instantly improve. Then you get a rookie in there that's good. Can learn.
I think you need to mix it because, look, the draft is still... The Lions have shown they do an excellent job.
Holmes is a great drafter.
He's a great drafter, but it still is a little bit of a crapshoot, right? Like, is it really going to translate? Are they going to be, like a J-Mo? He obviously messed around and got hurt and did the gambling thing and is kind of like... So you could have that situation where they don't pan out right away. Now he's starting to pan out. So I think you kind of have to mix it because it's nice to stay young. It's nice to have rookie contracts, which kind of gets you the 3 to 5 years of, hey, we got these guys as our solid core. And it keeps you under the salary cap. But I think you need to mix in a savvy vet, an experienced guy. You got to be careful not to go for somebody that's too washed up. I think you need like a kind of at the peak of his game type of corner. I think I would actually rather build my defensive backfield through free agency and maybe go a little bit younger up front. Just to be honest, there's not as much wear and tear. And meanwhile, just teach Hutchinson not to crap his pants and overrun every play all the time. Like just settle down and not be all about your stats and your pressures and stuff and actually stay in your lane. And I bet you'd do even better. So I think that's a good question, Mitch. I think it's definitely a mix of both for me. I do think like if they could get a Snead, that would be huge. He's locked
Sutton
down.
as your 2, and then draft a rookie in the second or third round.
With the other guys,
the defense goes.
They let Tracy Walker go.
Yeah, he's a good Lion, but that opens up cap space to go get another corner and get
Brian Allen got let go too from the Rams.
Yeah, get him as our backup center. I'd take him.
Yeah, I would too. I was thinking about that with Ragnow kind of getting dinged up. Yeah. All right, moving on to third quarter. Going to continue. Ryan kind of did this in his open. Shout out Michigan State hockey with a little help from last place Ohio State, who swept. I think they took. I don't know how it works. It sounds like they get 3 points for a win. Whatever it is, they took 5 of 6 points from the series this weekend with Wisconsin, and it was because it was coming down to Michigan State going to Madison next weekend. And it still might. That's what it was looking like, and it was going to have to be at least a split in that for Michigan State to win the Big Ten. And now I think if Michigan State can take care of business against Ohio State, they'll clinch it, which would be great. Pairwise, they're like top 5, top 6 in the country, so they're going to get into the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time, and they got a chance. I mean, they're a super young team, but they can score goals. They've got a good goaltender who can get hot. So shout out to Michigan State hockey. It's about the only real positive Michigan State has right now.
Michigan State football's got good momentum.
Yeah, the football team has good momentum. And then
spring practice starts soon.
Then there's the basketball team. So let me just start with this golden nugget from Dauber. Dauber's all over it. Great job. I'm going to live tweeting me last night when I was on the road and out for dinner. He sent me about 80 texts to keep me up to speed with what was going on in the Michigan State game, so I knew what was going down, so I appreciate that. He threw a gem at us today in our group chat. This marks the 4th straight year that Michigan State has lost 10 games or more, the first time since 1981.
Yep. Going to be 50.
Like that from like 81 to 85.
Most
or
likely 52 losses in the last 4 years combined.
Unacceptable. I'm sorry. Like, Izzo's first 2 years were a struggle, and then he snapped the lights on when Michigan State beat Purdue at Mackey. in his third season when everybody wanted him fired in the press because he lost to U of D for a third straight time. And then obviously Michigan State got to the Sweet 16 and then 3 straight Final Fours. As quickly as he built that and then sustained it, it's hit the shits lately, the last 4 years. And, it used to be pretty much the gold standard that every 4-year player at Michigan State could count on making a Final Four. And that ended with Appling and Payne and that group. Sadly, they came close, but they didn't get in. And then it's 2019 was the last time, 2020 arguably, but you never know. Arguably they probably would have, made a good run at it. They've been mediocre at best. Izzo is not willing to go to the portal. He hangs his hat on these guys that are not Michigan State guys because every press conference he says, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not allowed to yell at them for making mistakes. So that tells me right there, Tom, if you're not allowed to be you as a coach, stop coaching. I love you. I will love you forever, just like I love Coach D forever. Don't leave Michigan State basketball like Coach D left Michigan State football. Again, I love Coach D. He got burned out and he stayed a little bit too long and he left us in a tough spot, left us in a tough time. We ended up settling and getting Tucker. Now, hopefully we can fix that pretty quickly, but I don't want to see that happen to Michigan State basketball. Michigan State basketball has worked so hard to become a blue blood, to be there with Duke, to be there with, in a way, Michigan State has replaced Indiana as a blue blood because Indiana hasn't really been squat since they went to the championship game in, what was that, 02? 02
or 03.
They've been pretty mediocre. And is that what you want again, where you're hanging your hat on the for Indiana, it's still the Bob Knight days when he won 3 natties. And for us, it's, when Izzo got to 8 Final Fours and won a natty and whatever. No, I don't want that for Michigan State. I don't want that. Michigan State has too much of a legacy built up. And while last week was good since the last pod, they won at Penn State. Tremendous first half. Their second half was actually Penn State outplayed them. And then that carried over in the Michigan game. Michigan's just bad. Michigan State, does things like Cohen Carr has 8 points off the bench in the first half, doesn't play a lick in the second half.
Booker gives great minutes, doesn't play.
And then I didn't see the game last night, but based on the stats, same thing happened last night. And then Izzo's excuses are, well, it's not, the book's not about bully ball and he can't guard the perimeter. So it's not really, well, whose fault is that? So teach him or just
or you live with it.
Or you live with it because Ryan did a study. I don't know if he's going to talk about it or not. Showed it to me briefly. Michigan State sucks in the post. Cooper's at least serviceable, but he's a backup.
He's a backup.
He is a 12 to 15 minute a game backup. I'm sorry, Kohler belongs at Valparaiso or somewhere else, as Valenti would call him, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Air balls, hook shots. He fights for rebounds. That's about the only redeeming
dribbles off his feet, throws bad passes.
And Mady Sissoko is playing as if he's a high school freshman, not a senior. He's just, and yeah, Izzo says, I need to stop listening to the critics and I need to play Mady more. Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Tom, have you watched these games?
He has scored in 6 games.
And I know some fans will look at it and go, oh, yeah, but look at their stats and look at AJ. He's playing great. No, he's not. Because stats do lie. You can score a lot and you can have assists and you can be pretty good with the ball. That doesn't mean you're playing well because you need to do your job all the way around. Mady's plus minus is minus. He was the only minus in the Michigan game. I don't know from last night.
Only minus in the Penn State game.
Highly minus last night. And that's Tom's fault. He didn't go out to the portal. He refused to go to the portal. He's not good at, he's a guard guy. He's a point guard guy. He's a point guard whisperer. He's not a develop big guys guy. Wojcik doing the best that he can, but he's dealt
this is crap.
C-caliber talent.
These guys wouldn't start anywhere else in the Big Ten. Sorry. Nowhere.
And you can tell me, oh, it's his foot, it's whatever. He was great in the summer. Jackson Kohler's slow, and he's a little bit undersized, and he's kind of fat, and he's not that athletic. And, yeah, he fights for rebounds, and it's not like he's not trying. I'm not arguing that. The only player I'll say doesn't try is Hogard. And you can at me all you want. Hogard is a ball hog. Hogard blames his teammates. He's not a leader. Has he done some good things like in the Illinois game a couple weeks ago and led Michigan State to win? Yep. What does he do more often than not? He finds a way to screw it up for Michigan State. It's there's a reason why a couple weeks ago I said this is my least favorite Tom Izzo team ever. And, we'll go back to when I really started to follow Michigan State. It was like 89. Because as we all know, I was on the dark side early. Tom got to me. Uncle Tom got to me. And then I, had that epiphany when I was a junior at Forest Hill Central, and switched over. But honestly, this is probably, again, even with Izzo's first two teams, which were NIT teams, and one of Judd's teams, which was an NIT team, this is my least favorite Michigan State team since I've been a Michigan State fan. They don't care, except for Hall, who they're wasting. He's the quintessential holy bleep. I've got 20 games left, and then my career is going to be over, and minus a game or two here or there. And look, you're going to have that, right? Like at Minnesota, you had a tough night at the free throw line. That we know about the Northwestern game where he threw up the goose egg. He has held Michigan State together. He and Walker, for his, like Ryan said tonight when we were talking when I got back, is dinged up. We don't even know how dinged up he is.
Hurt. He didn't move the same.
He's still averaging like 18 points a game. If you take those two guys off the team, this team is right there with Michigan in the bottom of the Big Ten. Aikens shows flashes, and I don't think his is for lack of effort. I think AJ is lack of effort. Aikens isn't consistent enough. Soko sucks. Cooper's a great, bench guy, but he's not starter, and he has to play starter caliber minutes. Kohler's not it. You don't play Booker and Carr, who are top 50 recruits. What program in America doesn't play their top 50 recruits 20 minutes a game? I mean, and there's an excuse every time. Yeah, he's doing great. We're going to get him more minutes. No, you're not, Tom. Why don't you just tell the truth? I don't like how he plays. I don't like his motor. I don't like his defense. Whatever it is you don't like about him, just be honest. Because sugarcoating it for us, we're not dumb. Most Michigan State fans are not dumb. And I'm telling you what we know. I'm worried now that Carr is going to leave. I didn't think so. Polo doesn't think that Carr will leave. He thinks he has his head on straight. Not one person I've talked to thinks that Booker's coming back next year.
No, well, I didn't know this until I'm not a guy that posts on the message board, but once a day during work, if I have a lull, I'll go on. I subscribe to On3, the Spartan Mag, which I really like. Jim Comparoni, what he has to say is really good football and basketball, they have good recruiting stuff, whatever. Reading some of the stuff. And it was brought to my attention, I did not know this, that Booker's mom has been tweeting, we were lied to by Izzo. So that's lovely to see that. You think that helps Michigan State trying to get high level recruits?
Yeah, he's gone. It's a shame because then yes,
it's a waste.
Was he a little bit overrated? I heard it going into his senior year that he was still very raw and he didn't have the motor and he had to learn those things. But I'm sorry, Tom, on one hand, you lament that you can't coach guys the same way because you can't yell at them. On the other hand, haven't you figured out that if you don't just kind of learn how to deal with it, that these guys are going to leave? You put all that recruiting effort in to watch him grow a little bit under you.
He went to 40 games.
And he's gonna leave. Maybe he'll only go to a Butler, which isn't only, but it's not a true Power 5. I mean, I guess Big East.
They moved their way up. They were the Horizon League 12 years ago.
He's gonna go somewhere. Mark my words. He's gonna end up having a great year or two.
Style.
Yep. And he's gonna be. Everybody's gonna look and go, "What in the hell?" I got to give the team. For last week, okay, they won 2 road games. Actually, I think Michigan State has one of the better road records in the Big Ten.
It's
really best. Hard to win on the road in the Big Ten.
5.
But again, those were pretty precarious games against 2 of the worst teams in the Big Ten. And if Michigan State plays Penn State, like Penn State played tonight at Rec Hall, I think Michigan State loses that game. If Michigan had a heartbeat and a pulse and a coach, Michigan State probably loses that game. It was more or less a neutral site game because even Hall said afterwards he heard "Go Green, Go White" more than he heard Michigan fans. But to lose for a third time at the Breslin Center, that used to be a 92% win percentage for Michigan State. They might lose to a Duke, or they might lose to one upper echelon Big Ten team at home, maybe. Now they're routinely losing to Northwestern at home a couple times in a row. They're losing to Iowa.
Nebraska.
They struggled to beat Iowa at home last year. Nebraska, Penn State. We're not talking about the good Ohio State.
Purdue, Illinois.
Not good Illinois, not good. Like they're losing to mediocre teams. They lost to James Madison to start the season as the number 4 team in the country.
That was the warning.
We have. I mean, I want to believe January, February Izzo. I don't believe it. I don't think that this team has the guts. I don't think they have the wherewithal. I don't think they have the coaching. I think Michigan State's assistant coaching staff is as pedestrian as you can get for an upper echelon blue blood program. I don't think there's not one guy there that you worry if you're a fan is going to leave and you're going to be like, dang, how do we replace him?
A job at Temple.
Right.
It's just trash.
I mean, no offense.
The same thing D'Antonio did. It's the same thing.
Monty, great Spartan point guard, led us to a Big Ten championship with Smitty and guys. Like I don't have anything against him. He's a retread. He went to Northern Illinois, he had a losing record, and he's back on our staff, and he's okay at best. Wojcik was on the staff, went away, had a couple head coaching jobs. You know, things didn't go his way, and some things.
Well, here's the thing.
He was kind of a bully or whatever.
Wojcik's the best one. He should be our third assistant, not our second or first.
Right.
No,
exactly. I just, Izzo, how much time he sits there and he just sits. Like I don't buy that he's not, and I kind of hope he really is, introspective and looks at it and says, am I really cut out for this anymore? Yes, he has the energy, but go be an ambassador. We'll give you a job for life in the athletic department. Nobody's going to hate you. In fact, you're probably going to maintain your legacy if you just leave sooner than later. I would rather take my lumps now and get a new guy and regrow the program than continue to watch it kind of wither on the vine. And that's what's happening. I mean, on this team,
slow and painful.
On this team, Walker, yes, he was a transfer. That's the only one. Hogard, you were comparing to Mateen. What an insult to Mateen. What an insult to Cassius. What an insult to Denzel.
What an insult to freaking Tum Tum Nairn Jr.
Like Travis Walton. I mean, we went through that. Like this is not Michigan State basketball. This Michigan State basketball is founded on toughness, rebounding, defense, and running.
They don't do any of those things
Can't
anymore.
Rebound worth a lick. Got back cut up a storm the other night, so they don't play defense anymore. You got like Hall and Tyson, and Tyson's playing again hurt, and sometimes Akins. That's the best you got in defense. You don't have true rim protection. It is a bad Michigan State basketball team, and they don't deserve, in my mind, if college basketball wasn't so mediocre, to Mitch's point, Michigan State doesn't deserve to be a tournament team this year. They just
they'll
don't.
Sneak in. We'll get,
and they're one of the oldest teams in college basketball.
We'll get in because we stumbled into winning a few games like Illinois. Maybe we'll beat. And keep it within 20 against Purdue, and they have potential. They beat Baylor. They won by 30 against Baylor. They almost beat Duke. They almost beat Arizona. I'm tired of almost.
Almost doesn't matter.
Almost doesn't matter.
Almost is when you're building your program. And here's the thing. I get it. Everybody's like, but the streak. Only Kansas has a longer streak. Okay. So I heard this on the Valenti show a couple weeks ago. The Red Wings had a streak too, and they were just happy with getting back to the playoffs every year, and they lost that hunger and that fight to win the Stanley Cup. And look what happened to them. 4, 5, 6 years now that they haven't even made the playoffs?
Terrible.
That's what's going to happen at Michigan State if they don't get the shit fixed. Like, I'm not okay with the streak. Mitch asked the question, I think it was at the beginning of the year, what is the expectation?
We said Final Four or bust. We said Final Four or bust.
And I did argue that national championship is really hard because actually I've got a stat that I'll share with you in a minute.
It's almost impossible.
There's a lot of things that have to happen. It's not always just
injuries,
flat out the best
matchups.
Team. Yeah, I mean, like the Michigan State team that lost to Middle Tennessee State, that was a Final Four caliber team.
Yep.
And they should have probably been a one seed.
That lost to Syracuse. That was a Final Four caliber team.
It's just so, but Sweet 16 is my expectation. Even in an average year, second weekend is my expectation for Michigan State. That's where I think that should be Duke fans' expectation, Kentucky fan, Kansas fan. Like, that's the expectation. Yes, some years you're not going to get there, but generally speaking, that's the expectation. Now we're just happy that we might scrape by and
Might
not
win a
be a
game.
last four in and might win a game. Like, no, it's not okay being a 7 seed all the time when you used to be a 1 and a 2 and a 3 seed all the time. Like, it's not okay. And Michigan State fans need to voice that. And hey, Alan Haller has to have a serious conversation with Tom to say, Tom, I know you still want to do this. We love you, brother. You're the legend. You put Michigan State into blue blood category. Like, you took a good thing that Judd built, which had lots of ups and downs, but was good, and you made it great. So don't drive it back to good. Like, don't get to the point where it's so far gone that Michigan State fans have to suffer. And not only then does the quote unquote lovely streak go away, but then they suck for years. Like, I don't want to be Indiana basketball. I don't want to be Indiana basketball. You work too hard to get there. Stay on top. And if you can't stay on top with your principles and your values and the way that you want to coach, you got to get out. If you don't feel like you can coach the way you need to coach that gave you success, that is your sign to step away. That's why Krzyzewski, whether he took the parade or not, that's why he did it. That's why Roy Williams did it. Why Jay Wright did it. They're like, I'm done. It's not my time anymore. It's passed me by in terms of how I want to coach. And I get it. Flexibility and change is important. And I'm not suggesting that, we should be so rigid that we can't change. But when you go to the podium time after time and you say, I can't coach these guys the same way anymore. It's the same isms that are being recycled, and it's ridiculous. So this was a stat that Ryan threw out the other day, talking about how hard it is in March. The most underrated thing about March Madness is the complete and utter luck it takes. Michigan State has beaten 14 top 3 seeds since 1999, 55 total wins. UConn only has beaten 9 top 3 seeds with 47 total wins. They have 5 national championships. Michigan State has 1.
It's ridiculous.
They faced 2 8s and 5s in title games. So the point being there is it takes luck. And could Michigan State be that lucky team? Yeah, but I don't want to be that lucky team. I mean, yes, you have to have someone. I don't want it to be like, hey, maybe we're just going to luck into this. No, I want to be the favorite. I want to have the target on my back. I don't want to be the, hey, isn't that great? Check the box. They get 25 tournaments in a row. I don't want to be the next Red Wings and then watch us suck in my mid 50s and in my 60s. I don't want that. I don't want that. I expect more from Michigan State.
Yeah, I was last night. I tried to keep it calm, and I couldn't. Like, I was so angry. I was literally shaking. I was so angry watching that basketball game. Like, the most fundamental things, they can't do it. They can't jump stop. They can't make a layup. They make stupid passes. They step out of bounds. They have no court awareness. They don't
get back
watch ball you man. They don't box out. They don't communicate.
They don't get on the floor.
They don't hustle off. I was saying to Mom, I said, I would give my left foot to wear that jersey one time and play a game, and these guys piss all over it. They have no pride. Yeah. No pride. It's embarrassing.
And you can, and Izzo, and people, all you want can blame the generation, then fix it. You just going to sit there and watch it happen, or are you going to fix it? I say fix it. That's why I'm outspoken about things that I don't like, because it's got to start somewhere. So do something about it. Izzo, if you don't like it, do something about it. And that means either shit or get off the pot.
Exactly.
That means truly do something about it and stop talking about it, or fade off into the sunset and be a fundraiser for Michigan State. And either way, I'm going to love you just the same. But either you do it or you don't. You're all in or you're not. No more excuses.
No, this isn't Michigan State basketball. This isn't the Michigan State basketball I grew up watching.
Excuses get you to the kind of year that Michigan basketball is having.
Oh, heart transplant. Oh, injury, suspension.
We would have had Shannon, but he couldn't get into school. Blah,
exactly.
blah, blah, blah.
Like,
I don't want to hear excuses.
No, that's not. We're not.
Win ball games.
Yeah,
Michigan State has 3 multi-billionaire mortgage guys that
throw
are
money
grads.
at people. I don't care if it's other teams do. Like, you think that UConn didn't do that to get Cam Spencer?
Swallow your pride and play the game, Tom. Swallow your pride and play the game.
You won't. Don't worry.
All right, now a word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
Golf. Genesis last week.
Crazy. You had Tiger was in, and then he withdrew because he was sick, and you had Spieth had the DQ. Super interesting. Don't know how that happens. I was talking about that last night at dinner with one of our salespeople's husband, and he's a tennis guy, but he likes to watch golf. And he's like, how does that happen? Like, they literally go through 6 checks and balances, and he still signed the wrong scorecard. I don't understand. I don't.
Yeah, that's like almost impossible to do, honestly.
And he was in decent contention.
He was in the top 10. He was playing well. Like, I mean, we saw Cantlay choke this away. He played terrible on the weekend.
Yeah, he had a great first 2 days, and then it was worse than that, right? He was plus for the rest of the week.
Yeah, he's plus 1. 13 under going in on Thursday and Friday, then 1 over.
The Olympics are going to be there in a couple of years. I think they got
cool.
a U.S. Open coming up there.
Oh, that course is. I would give
such a great looking course.
I would give a couple paychecks to play there. That place is unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun tournament, kind of down the stretch. Hideki with just an absurd Sunday. Gets a big win. In an elevated event,
Scotty was right up there again, right?
Scotty, who else up there? Willie Z.
Yeah, it was good to see Zalatoris up there.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this right now. This is we said like bold golf prediction. I think Will Zalatoris is going to win a major this year. I do.
Yeah, he really has bounced back nicely.
Come back from his injury, and he's already this good when he keeps playing.
I think he's putting better too with the long putter. So
yeah, he hits the ball so far. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, it was a fun tournament. Looking forward to the next few weeks. Mexico's not as big, but it's kind of a cool course.
They had the bee problem there last year. How did we do on our picks last week?
Let me see. Your guys 26 combined, my guys 67 because JT missed the cut because after 2 rounds, like 5 guys missed the cut and he was one of them. So lovely. But we go into Mexico and then I think what's it next? Mexico, then.
Then we go to Florida, right? The old Honda. Now it's the whatever it is, where Charlie Woods is going to try to qualify.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
You get the Florida swing, you get the TPC in there. The Masters is around the corner. Jim Nantz saving up that voice now that he's not doing basketball, and CBS is off golf now for a stretch because they're super basketball heavy coming up. But Mexico Open, did that start today?
Tomorrow,
okay. I've got Gim and McNeely.
All right, I like it. I'm going Finau. He won last year.
He's a resort course guy.
He's a resort course killer. And then my second one, Emiliano Grillo. He's quietly played really good golf in the last year. He was really good for a while, then he kind of fell off, and then he's gotten back to it. He's really good. I think he's got a chance this weekend. Trying to think.
Golf courses in Michigan were open a couple weeks ago. They're opening up again this weekend.
Also,
it's crazy.
Tiger's son Charlie trying to qualify for the Cognizant in a couple weeks. That would be crazy. And then they think Tiger would play in it. So what if he and his dad played together? That would be one of the cooler things. And his son's 15, 16.
Yeah, 15. As a freshman, won the state championship in Florida, I think.
He's next. Yeah. But I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Trying to think if anything else golf-wise came out. Screw Live. I saw Neiman. They did special invites to the Masters today. Neiman got one.
He plays well there usually.
Yeah, he's had a nice actually.
I think the Full Swing Netflix.
Two weeks from today. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything golf-wise, if you don't.
Looking forward to the Florida swing.
Yep. All those courses are spectacular in their own way. All right, let's hit it with a sprint to finish. Should all All-Star games just be canceled and outlawed? Yes, I agree. Terrible. Should the PGA Tour do a par 3 challenge?
Like a one tournament on a weekend that's just all part. They kind of used to do a special thing up at Three Tops. Actually, it was like a made for TV. Yeah, Phil played in that once. Yeah, like I don't know if you could do a whole weekend that way, but I think it'd be kind of
2-day event or something.
Do like
on like an off weekend in like December or something. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean they used to do the skins game back when I was a kid, where you'd get like Trevino and Nicklaus and Palmer and whatever. Yeah, like kind of like the matches now, but yeah, I think that'd be fun.
When will college athletes be considered employees?
Then they really will ruin it if that happens.
That's going to happen.
Unionize and everything else. If they do that, then they should have to help subsidize the cost for normal students to go to college. That's what I'll say. It's probably going to happen sooner than later. I mean, it's not an amateur sport anymore anyway. So
it's a joke. I hate it. 2025 is when I say. I think by the end of 25. Last one, best stand-up comedian ever.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I go back further than you. Obviously, Richard Pryor was really good. He's a little bit older, but Eddie Murphy was phenomenal. George Carlin is actually sneaky underrated too. Like, he had the
Rip.
He was great. He could get a little political at times, but actually has the similar viewpoint to what I would. So I really like Bill Burr now, honestly, because he also tells it like it is. I think the best all time though has got to be Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy. I mean, he's before my
Delirious.
time. But
I could
videos
watch
of all
Eddie Murphy
so
Delirious
funny.
in the red leather jumpsuit all day, every day.
Yeah, he is one funny guy. Bill Burr is really good. I mean, before the allegations and bad stuff came about Bill Cosby was
actually really good too.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. Jonathan Winters, he goes way back. Like there's
canceled.
been some classic comedians for sure, but yeah, Eddie Murphy for me he's got my money.
All right, that's episode 162. We appreciate you guys listening.
Got a whole full Major League Baseball season under our belt now.
Yeah, look at that.
162
Yeah,
games.
baseball's coming up soon too. Tigers in spring training now. Could be a solid team this year, but let us know what we want to hear. Definitely going to do a March Madness pool, so be on the lookout for that. Obviously, we'll communicate that as we get closer, and if you're interested in that, please let us know when we get closer. We can send out emails and texts and get everyone involved. So have some fun there. But always appreciate the support. Couldn't do it without you.
All right, in honor of Caitlin Clark and her bomb to set the D1.
Shout out to her for that. Good Lord.
The D1 women's scoring record. You all know I was going to shoot a logo 3 for the record. Come on now.